Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you have been following the current build series on the Keweenaw and Scenic Valley Railroad, you will have seen me finish the bench work for the staging level and the bottom laps of both helixes. This week I'm going to get all the track laid. So without further ado, let's just head out to the workshop and get to work. Well, it's now time to start laying out the turnouts for the staging yard. The customer gave me a handful of Atlas turnouts that he asked me to use if possible, and I bought some Picos to make up the difference. Although Pico turnouts don't look particularly great, they are fairly inexpensive and reliable, so they make a good choice for staging yards. Anyway, it's a mixture of number 6s and number 8s, and I've got one curved turnout at this side on the entry and another pair of curved turnouts in the corner. Then I think the next 2 are number 6s, and then the next 4 or 5 are number 8s. I believe I've got the right number. I hope I have, otherwise there's going to be a delay. Now I'm just going to turn the camera off and get to work. Well, now that I have all the turnouts laid out in the right places along the ladder, working out the track alignment towards the helix is fairly straightforward. What I've done here is connected a piece of flex track to the end of the turnout, which I've weighted with a brick so it doesn't move. Weighted the other end as well. I just eyeballed it. The exact radius is irrelevant. I know that it's probably at least 3 times the minimum radius for the railroad. So as long as it's fairly smooth, it doesn't really matter. And around the helix I used a different method. I started off by calculating where the track centre lines would be. Since the roadbed is 6.5 inches wide, I put the track centre lines at 2.5 inches on centre, giving me 2 inches either side, which is plenty of room for a piece of 3/4 inch plywood as a support. And then I just offset by half the width of the roadbed, and then I just cut a block of wood the right width, and then ran it round the fence with a pencil alongside of it. So that gives me a nice smooth curve there. Join up. And then I would just join up the 2 curves, offsetting the tangents by about 1/4 inch to allow for an easement. So I'm going to do that right now. I'll be right back. Well, all the roadbed has now been laid on the bottom laps of both helixes, and of course on the approaches too. Anyway, I have started to plot the track centres for the staging tracks. You can't see it because it's black on black, and I'm starting to lose the light out here. So I'm going to come out here again tomorrow and continue. But I've got as far as I wanted to today. I knew it wasn't going to be a full day's work. I have plenty else to get on with. Well, it is January 3rd, and I've just come out here for a track laying session. I hope you can hear me over the sound of the propane heater, because it is freezing cold out here. The ground outside is blanketed with white flakes of dihydrogen monoxide, which fell from the sky yesterday. My goal today is to get as much of the staging yard laid as I can. I won't get it all done. It's fairly late in the day. I waited until the afternoon because it was just too cold this morning. It's warmed up about 10 degrees now, and that's about as warm as it's going to get. So hopefully I can get some worthwhile work in today. I'm going to start at this end and work my way around. So I will check in with you again periodically. Don't go away. Well, I have probably a quarter, maybe a third of the staging yard done. And I know you're wondering about the concrete tied track. The client gave me a large box of assorted flex track to use up wherever possible. And since this is a staging yard, it doesn't really matter what it looks like as long as it works reliably. There were 2 pieces of code 100, one of which was badly kinked anyway, so I've discarded those. But everything else is code 83, Atlas, mostly wood tie, but there was 8 pieces of concrete tie. Anyway, the concrete ties turned out it was just about enough to do the 5th track, which happens to be the middle one, and it'll be a good visual placeholder to be able to see which track you're on. So I think that worked out quite well. Anyway, it hasn't been a full day or even a full afternoon, but it's a reasonable start. It's as much as I could reasonably expect to get done today. It was just too cold this morning. Well, it's Wednesday morning. I didn't come out here at all yesterday because by the time I got back from doing my errands it was kind of late. Anyway, on Monday I got this yard ladder in and I got the first 6 tracks done about halfway round. Today I'm going to start by mirroring that arrangement. I'm going to start with this yard ladder over this side, which apart from having a straight turnout at the end instead of a curved one, is exactly the same. And then I'm going to join up those first 6 tracks and then work on the back 3. I had a look at the time-lapse footage on Monday and it's pretty worthless. If we look in the distance, that shelf on the wall above the ladder is where I put the other camera, which is designed to get the whole workshop. But you really couldn't see what I was doing, so today I've set it up on my shelf in amongst my screws, and I've put the narrow lens on the other camera. There it is on the garage door in the middle of the frame now. So hopefully between them they'll be able to capture everything. Now I'm just waiting for the workshop to heat up a little bit because I can't work like that when it's cold. I just have no fine control of my fingers. But a few minutes and the heater will start making it a lot more bearable out here. So don't go away, I will check in with you again periodically. Well, it is a few minutes afternoon and I have now got the first 6 tracks joined up all the way around. This is how far I got the other time. So everything in the picture now was done on the first session. And then today I've gone, or this morning I've gone from here around to the last turnout down here. This piece of track isn't glued in yet, it's just cut the length. Anyway, I'm making good progress. I'm going to head in now, get some lunch and come back out and probably finish it up this afternoon actually. Although it started off cold today, it turned out to be pretty nice. The sun is streaming in through this window, helping to keep the place warm. And if we look at the propane heater, I turned that off after a couple of hours. I haven't needed it. And also I ended up taking my sweater off as well. It's nice and warm in here now. So anyway, I'm going to head in now, get some lunch, and I will check in with you again later. Don't go away. Well, this end of the staging yard is now done. Haven't got any electrical feeders in yet. And I still have to do all the back 3 tracks all the way this 2/3 of the end. So I've just moved all the tools back over to this side of the railroad and I'm going to continue now, get one more track in and then I have to position that last turnout. So don't go away, I'll check in with you again later. Well, I've now caught up with this side. All 9 tracks around this curve are complete. Now I just have the last 3 tracks to fill in across the straight section. So 9 more pieces of flex track and I will be done with the staging yard. I think I just got time to do that today. So I'm going to get back to work. I'll check in with you again later. Don't go away. Well, as you can see, as I move around the staging yard area, those last 9 yards of track along the back have now been installed. I just walked into the chair. Anyway, that is a good place to stop, and I've had enough fun for one day. So I'm going to go in and I will continue tomorrow. Don't go away. It is Thursday morning, and once again it is freezing cold outside with more white sky vomit falling from above. I have the propane heater on, and soon it will be a lot more comfortable out here. If you recall, the staging yard was finished yesterday. Well, I say finished, all the track was laid, I haven't started wiring it up yet. Today's task is to get the bottom lap of the two helixes done. This one and then the other one. I've tried different positions with the time-lapse cameras again. I have the narrow angle up on my shelf there, and that just about covers both helixes. And then I have the wide angle set up closer, up on the post at about eye level, trained on this helix, and then when I switch to the other side of the room I will move that one. When it comes to the track on the helix, I am using microengineering flex track for these circular curves. I like microengineering for helixes because once it's been bent to a smooth curve, it holds its shape easily. You don't have to worry about the end springing out and causing kinks. I showed you my method of bending it in a previous video. What I do is I use a curved template and I just gently bend it around the outside of it, starting with a radius about 2 inches smaller than what I want to end up with. This helix is approximately 32-inch radius, so I use a 30-inch radius bar. And I've done that on my first pack of flex track. Now, where I don't like microengineering is for the transitions at the ends. I have yet to find a good way of bending it into a smooth, kink-free transition or easement. So what I've done here is started with a special piece. I have joined a yard of microengineering to a yard of pico. Now, I like pico flex track for curving into transitions or easements. I like the fact that both rails will easily slide into ties. So that's what I've done here, and I'm all ready to glue this first piece in. So once again, that is pico flex track for the easement and then microengineering for the circular curve. Once I've got the start done, the rest of it will go fairly quickly, and then I'll be on to the other side. So don't go away, I'll check in with you again later. Well, that is one helix with the first lap done. It's only 5 yards of track. And that's about as far as I can take it for now. Before I continue, I need to get all the feed wires in so I can test it and then build another lap of bench work. But before I do that, it is over to the other helix, and this one's going to take a little bit longer because I have a much longer lead in at this end. So I'm going to move my tools over this side and get back to work. Don't go away. Well, I now have the track in all the way around here and around the first lap of this other helix. That is actually all I'm going to do today. I was planning on staying out here all day and working on the feeder wires, but my propane ran out about an hour ago and it's already getting pretty uncomfortable. It's a lot colder today than it was yesterday. So I'm going to take the propane tank inside, and next time I'm in town I'll get that filled up. Well, that's all for this installment. Next time we'll get the feeder wires and the switch machines installed. So I'm going to sign off here, and I hope to see you again next week. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.